4, I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Right.
Instead, stand and pledge the
This
flag.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anyone have any corrections or comments on the draft minutes for August 6th meeting?
Nope, not here.
Okay. I will, a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay. Okay, moving forward to new business. I guess I'll have to say that it's probably, I thought I had given you a list of all of the names so that we could get packages sent to us so that we could pre-read everything to be prepared for conversation. And for some reason, I don't know whether I sent that email to Kathy or to you or however I did that. So I apologize on our behalf. I would prefer to have the meetings with us having information in hand so that we aren't wasting time here and that we can be prepared to discuss the topics that we have on the agenda rather than sitting here and taking the time to read. So I guess what I'd like to ask for tonight is an update, copies of the template, and we can discuss that a little bit. Confirmation, if you've had any with the districts, as well as it's a clarification of the DOE process.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can just touch on those and hopefully in the future have any materials sent to us beforehand so that we can all be prepared for discussion, that would be great.
So just provide the update, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
So first question I have about getting information out to the committee, is it preferable to have hard copies or is it something that we can scan and email?
Email's fine with me.
Email's fine.
Email.
I think you've got all addresses, right?
I do now.
Yes.
Yes. So any other information you'll have prior to the meeting so that you can review that now that I have that information. Last meeting, it was a request of the committee to provide basically the information that the Milton School District was reviewing during their committee work. And so what I've done is I've put together basically the information that you have, and the information you have in your packet is for your review to discuss at our next meeting. So I'm sure you need time to absorb it and read it and develop any questions that you might have. But I can talk about what's within the packet. You'll see on the first page, it's the initial warrant article that was passed by the voters in Milton. And then you have the agendas as well as the minutes to their meetings. And then you also see that one of the sheets, there are 3 options that were presented to Milton as for staffing for their SAU. It's titled Milton SAU Staffing Options and Estimated Expenses. So this was done for 2000, based on 2013 rates. This was for their committee work. And then you'll see on the back side of that sheet the financial breakdown of all 3 options. So they had that information to review as to the fiscal impact of withdrawing, and if they went, basically anywhere between option 1 and option 3, it would have an impact of anywhere of $200,000 to $245,000 additional to their budget if they were to withdraw. So they're looking at the financial piece there for those options. And then what I've also included for you is a copy of the Messinic Regional School District Withdrawal Study Committee report. This is what the Milton Withdrawal Committee voted on to use as a template as they move forward. So that's for this committee to review. The template's, in my opinion, well laid out, user-friendly, provides the information necessary to make a recommendation as a committee. So you have that for your review as a committee.
That was in 2007?
Yes.
Who prepared this, the options and estimated expense? Who did the financials on this?
Our business administrator, Andrew DeAgostino,
Okay.
put together the financials. The recommendations for the staffing came from former superintendent, Mr. McIntyre.
The very first line item has superintendent of 160 and 100. What happens in option 2? Can you explain that, Mike, so I
Yeah,
have a
sure.
better understanding of what's going on here?
Sure. Option 2, you're looking at a 0.6 superintendent, so 60% was your option 2. So you see the adjustment in the salary. So if you look on the front page there, option 1 gives you basically your option 1 is a full-time superintendent, option 2 is a 60% superintendent, and then option 3 is a one full-time superintendent / special education director.
Okay.
So you see the breakdown of the positions and the time for each position is how it's broken down on the finances.
Okay.
I did do the research, and the requirement for an SAU staff is a superintendent and a food service director. And since we contract out our food service, the food service director is not
There's
required.
no void.
So just a superintendent for an SAU, if you already have a food service director.
At this point in time, does Milton outsource their food too?
No, they do not. But they have a food service director that oversees both food programs in the middle and high as well as the elementary school.
Then why isn't he on the list?
Because it's wrapped up in a.
Oh, it's the Milton itself, not.
Correct. It's not
SAU.
part of the
Okay.
SAU's
All right.
budget.
Okay, they've got 3 options. Masonic had 4,
Mhm.
so they're not totally following the Masonic options.
I don't necessarily know if they were following this format 100%. This is one that we saw, that we thought,
Well, they said in the minutes they were gonna follow,
oh, they did.
if I read this correctly. Again, I'm scanning it quickly.
May I?
Yes,
Yeah.
you may.
These options were put together before the committee had decided to go with the Messinic template. So, again, the Messinic document is, again, it's a template, and what information would be required in a specific review of whether you want to withdraw or not. Some of this work that you have in front of you was done prior to receiving that document and doing that research.
I mean, logically, it seems the 4 options are the true 4 options, reading them. Whether we want to consider all 4 of them is another story, but.
You also take into consideration that the Messinic Regional School District, they actually, in their recommendation to withdraw, you're looking at more than one town as part of that school district, where here we would be,
One time.
yes. So that would impact your staffing, depending on the number of employees and students you have enrolled.
What did they ultimately do?
They made the recommendation to withdraw. Mhm.
And join another, or just withdraw totally?
To
Which-
withdraw and develop their own.
On their own?
With the combination of those districts. You'll see the recommendation on the, let's see, it's on page 15 of that 15-page document. So, actually, I'm sorry. It's on page 10. If you look down at the bottom of that Messinic document, page 10 of 15 gives their recommendation. Up at the top.
Oh, to combine with the other 4
Correct.
and form a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't this whole thing put you in a pretty awkward position, Mike? I mean, you could end up working your way out of a job, or coming with us, or coming with Milton, or not going with either. How do you maintain objectivity when you're in the middle of something like this?
Well, it's a very good question. It was actually a question that was posed to me during my interview. How would I come in without a bias through this process? And that's my position. I'm a committee member, a non-voting committee member here. And yes, it could impact my career, but I also have a job to do to be, non-biased in this committee. So I don't find it awkward, quite honestly.
Okay.
I'm just providing the information for the committee to make the recommendation. It's a 3-year process. If you were to vote as a committee to withdraw, you have 2 years to implement a plan, which gives you 3 years, which my contract is 3 years as well.
Right.
So at that
Gives
point,
you
I can
time.
make that decision depending on what the committee is to make. So I'm here to support the process, and that's how I'm approaching it.
How many total students do we have now, both high school and elementary and middle school? About 800?
Say,
No,
I'd say we're
no, we're like 428 in the elementary school.
428.
a little over 600.
Interesting. The new Messina district has 2,088, this is 70, during the time they're doing the, and their total assessed valuation was $1.3 million. We're just under $1 billion, $1.3 billion. We're just under $1 billion by ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is good. I think this gives us a lot of stuff to think about.
Yeah.
Digest, a lot of stuff to digest, obviously.
Yeah.
I think the staffing numbers would be helpful, and the current population and staffing would be helpful.
So,
Of
I,
Everything.
Yeah, right now, where are we, what is the state of the school district right now? Wakefield alone, students by, basically by grade level, because you gotta remember that we're talking 3 years out, only the freshmen will still be around in Rochester.
Yep.
So, just to have some numbers to,
so we're gonna ask
Yeah.
you for student by grade level?
yeah. And,
Current staffing as well.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
please.
Now, I guess timing is everything, and I don't know the best approach. It almost seems to me that from a budgetary standpoint, it really doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to use the 2013, 2014 numbers. It'd be better to use the 2014, 2015 numbers as our base. Because we have budget time coming up, And I know it pushes it off a little bit, but at the same time, I think it's more realistic. What contracts do we have up this year, anything?
No.
I didn't think so.
I don't believe so, no.
Teacher.
Paras and teachers are all,
Yep.
Yeah,
So
we
Paris has got one
finalized
more
last,
year, right?
paras have one more year,
Yeah.
teachers have two, right?
2 more years, yeah. Yeah.
So we should be, that should be okay.
Yeah.
And those numbers should be good. Other than that, just that, it seems to me, why go back any further than we already are? Why not? Because
Move forward.
move forward and look forward, because we're talking 2 years out before anything is done anyway.
Mhm.
I think we make a more rational decision on more current numbers.
I'd like to speak to the process. This is really, in my opinion, this will really help the committee in your thought process and how you want to move forward. I did speak with the state to get clarification on the process in general, because there is sort of gray in the aspect of the RSA when you're talking about withdrawing, organizing, and reorganizing all in the same process. Well, withdrawing and either organizing or reorganizing go hand in hand. What the committee needs to decide is, first of all, are they going to recommend withdrawal from SAU 64? If you do, you are concurrently developing a plan as to, if you recommend a withdrawal, what's the plan? And so you have to determine whether you want to withdraw first, and if you do, what's the plan? And you have 180 days to submit that plan to the DOE from the time of the first committee meeting. But at any point, the committee can decide that they do not want to withdraw, and you can make that as a vote, and you submit basically a paragraph to the Department of Education saying that the committee has decided and voted to not withdraw, and the process ends at that point. Milton can do the same thing. both Milton and Wakefield are really running as individual withdrawal committees at this point, but whatever decision both districts make will impact the other.
Right.
And you have to take that into consideration. So if the committee does decide to not withdraw, that doesn't have to go back for a vote in any way whatsoever. This committee can make that determination and submit that recommendation and that determination to the state, and it's finished at that point. But if you do decide to withdraw, you have to develop a plan that has to be presented to the Department of Education for approval, and then it also has to be presented in a public hearing to the voters so that they know that what they're voting on, because they would have to vote, because there could be a fiscal impact, but you also have to keep into consideration what the educational impact is for the students of Wakefield. And that should outweigh the fiscal impact, according to the state. So when you determine to withdraw, if you determine to withdraw and you develop a plan, the educational impact is what you need to consider as a higher priority than your fiscal impact. So in that sense, if you think about it, we do not share many resources at all for the education of students within the buildings with Milton. What you're sharing is your SAU resources.
Right.
So the educational impact for withdrawing is minimal because of the services that are provided for direct instruction in the classroom already here in the district, where what your biggest impact is going to be what you decide to do with your SAU staff. And if you were to go, say, a full-time superintendent, that would be a superintendent that could focus on the education of students only in Wakefield. If you went part-time, you're looking at a part-time, administrative staff, the SAU office. So again, it's just the impact of your SAU staff when you start talking about the education of students. And that would be consistent leadership you have to take into consideration. That would have the greatest impact on student achievement from an SAU perspective, is that continuum of leadership.
So, yeah, and so from a practical standpoint, DOE, since we're not changing any instructional level of movement plans, because it's all done here in this building now, it'll have minimum effect on whatever we do. You know, if we decide to go alone, if we decide to stay with Milton, if we decide to join another SAU, or join with two other towns to form a new one, any one of those four options.
But Mike, what's to keep us right now from voting that we don't want to withdraw?
And then it would put it in Milton's court, because
Correct.
If you say tonight you vote to not withdraw as a committee, it's basically we draft that paragraph and send it to DOE. It's for Wakefield School District, the process is finished at that point. Milton is running their own at this point. They could vote any time again to not withdraw from SAU 64, and they're finished with their process at that point.
But as long as they started this process and we're doing it almost as a defensive measure,
Absolutely.
wouldn't it be in our best interest to vote not to withdraw and let them take the lead? Like I said last time, I mean, isn't that?
Well, I think it would be, Denny, but I remember a reason that we even thought about doing this was to do the analysis, and we'd be in the driver's seat knowing what we wanted to do. Because, Milton, now correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, Milton, if we said we don't want to withdraw and we stop meeting, okay? Milton then would have to come up for a plan for us,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct.
Well, Mike, I mean, Howie, at the last meeting,
Maybe you guys talked about that.
No, we talked briefly about what would our options be, and because of the geographic area, and we're right on the main border, and because we're already sending our students down to Rochester, we kind of, as a straw vote, said our options are to stay where we are, see if we can join up with Rochester, because that's where the students are going right now, or see if we can join up with Kingswood, and Kingswood has already said they'll take our students, but they don't want to take on the SAU. So if our options then, if Kingswood and Rochester doesn't want to take us, then don't we vote
No.
no?
Well, I have to say, we asked if you had had those polite conversations. Do you have any information on what the status of those two districts are?
I have a meeting with Superintendent Hopkins on Monday,
Okay.
and Superintendent Egbert from Governor Wentworth on Wednesday of next week
Oh,
to
okay.
ask those questions. But I do know that in the past, that question's been raised
Yeah.
with
And
SAU.
Denny and I were on a committee
Yeah.
to look at it.
Yeah.
And they were, nice, but
Yeah.
they just said, because they were in the middle of building, or trying to pass a referendum
Yeah.
to build the high school.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to take
They
on
weren't looking-
any
Yeah.
other changes. Now, times have changed, you know.
They,
and-
they have, Howie, but again,
So maybe-
I'm just throwing this out as a,
Yeah.
but if we get, we're not interested from both of them, then
We have no choice.
we have no choice. Then I say, we vote not to withdraw.
Even though fiscally, we might be able to do it cheaper than we're getting allocated now, because the methodology of allocation is blatantly unfair. Because we get whacked because of our assessed valuation. Big time.
Yeah, but if you look at the three options from Milton, okay, not one of them saved money.
Well, we don't know that for us.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think I'd be really surprised if we could run an SAU and it be our own SAU and run it
Cheaper than we're paying
cheaper than
now.
we are today.
I
I don't know that for a fact,
don't either then.
but my gut makes me feel that, that's all.
See, you and I obviously disagree on a lot of things all the time. I think we might be able to do it.
Okay.
Only because of the allocation methodology currently used that the state forced it on us.
Yeah.
You know, because of the heavier weight on the assessed valuation as opposed to student count.
Yeah, but aren't we talking 47 and 50, or 48 and 52? It's not a big split.
I thought it was 58 and 42.
Is it
Yeah.
50 and 42?
Yeah, 43 and
43 and 40.
43.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
So
pretty
by
big
next
spread.
meeting, or by the time you send our packet of information out, we should know what our options are politely, or a polite conversation. We should be able to know what our options are, so that we're gonna be able to look at that strategically. And if we come down to we're not capable
Wanted.
of joining with another one, then we can look at it and say, okay, these are our two options. Let's
Yeah.
crunch numbers this way
Yeah.
and see what we can do for an SAU. Look and see what buildings are available to us.
Yep.
You know, is there in-house area? Is there out-of-house area? Where
Yeah.
do we have to look
We
for
put
this?
Mike in our house. No.
Yeah,
We got a nice trailer right
we got a
before.
nice trailer right over there.
So we own it.
We do. So, you know, and then then we can move forward. And I do kind of see your point of view total, because we're on the offense right now. But I think that
But couldn't we do this? Another wacky thought. You know, if we come down and polite conversation, say no, you know, both the other SAUs have got a full basket.
Yeah.
They can't handle it anymore. Politely, and that's nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand that. There's nothing saying we can't say we don't want to leave the SAU, but continue doing the number crunching.
That's my point.
Mhm.
That's
That's
what I
right.
think we should, that's
You know,
exactly the
because,
position we
again,
should
our
take.
whole premise of having this committee
Yeah.
was defensive,
Yes.
like you mentioned.
Exactly.
So
So
there's
we,
nothing saying, because our voters have to approve whatever Milton comes up with.
that's right.
And if they came up with an option that wasn't financially what we came up with, we could tell the voters, we don't agree with this option,
That's right. Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
And then we could say, here's how, now we're in negotiation stage.
yeah, yeah. I like that. To me, that makes sense to do it that way. Continue to crunch the numbers, but again, let Milton I'd like to see Milton take the lead.
They're the ones that started it.
Yeah,
I can see concern on Mike's face.
No, I'm not concerned in any way whatsoever, quite honestly. I think that you'll probably get a vote from Milton sooner than later, prior to you even doing more research than you feel necessary. So
Okay.
I think you'll have Milton's stance sooner than later as to what they're going to do. I think what you saw on my face is the defense piece. What you need to keep in mind is that you're actually running the same process together regardless. So even if Milton decided to not go through this, you still could have gone through it yourself as well, or not go through it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
you know, the way I'm viewing it is that both districts are going through the same process, regardless of what the others are doing or what they're studying, because you're in the same exact process.
And I agree, Mike, but you gotta remember why we even got into it.
yeah.
I understand that.
We never got,
I know the history.
it never would have come up
Yeah.
if Milton wouldn't have started it. I mean, nobody here was beating a drum saying, we gotta have a study,
Yeah.
okay? we just kinda, on a defensive position, decided we better do this, cause what if they go it alone, then we don't wanna be stuck alone. But
And I have to
we
say
didn't
that I
start it.
still don't even really know, I still don't really know what the issues are of why they're asking. I don't know if they're just looking to restructure, if they're moving to, change things up a little bit. I don't even know why they really asked or why they decided to
But
do it.
Wasn't it, and I don't know why, but I thought that the reason the whole thing came up is they thought we were using too much of the SAU's time on our school district, and they didn't have enough, there wasn't enough left over for them. That's my understanding on how the whole thing bubbled up, is that they thought that we were consuming too much time of the SAU personnel for our district, and they didn't have enough time left over down there. I think that's my understanding, Mike.
That's my understanding as well, and what it seemed to boil down to was the two boards working together, and problems with the two boards working together, and that's what prompted this. I think that's as simple as it
I think that might be
needs to
passé.
be. And
Because I
I
believe
agree with
that
you
we work
100%.
very well together now, the core
Absolutely.
group of us, and I don't believe that there's any animosity, I don't even know of any friction.
Okay.
I think that we're all polite. We altered in Wakefield, we altered our hours. 11 or 12 o'clock at night for a board meeting when we have our superintendent and our principal and our vice principal and other school staff till midnight, and then expect them to be back here fresh and bushy-tailed at 7 o'clock
Doesn't work.
is not even polite.
No.
It's not what we would want, it's not what we want for them, it's not what we want for our students.
Yeah.
So if it was simple issues of that, all of those issues have been rectified. We try to make everything on a more family-based
Okay.
structure now.
Okay.
And I agree with that 100%. Working with both boards, they're fantastic to work with, and I've been at a joint board meeting, and it's great.
Okay.
So again, could be based on the past, but we look
So
forward to the
maybe,
future.
maybe if we say we're not gonna go forward and they say they're not gonna go forward,
We'll break back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Call it good.
Well, I think I'm looking forward to the feedback from your meetings next week.
Yeah, I am
That'll
too.
tell us the most.
I mean, that's all it's about.
Yeah.
There's our options,
Mm.
basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I am gonna miss the next meeting, so
Okay.
I would like, if somehow I could get that information, maybe from you,
Yeah, well, you'll email it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest that we get an email next week with your feedback,
yeah.
Okay.
so we know next week
Yeah.
what's up.
What I will do is I'll send the committee basically an update of my meetings with the two superintendents, as well as if there's any vote taken at the next Milton.
When is the next schedule?
12th.
12, okay.
So
So that would be,
next week,
That would be wonderful.
that'd be great.
and then you'll know
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point.
I think that's perfect.
And then we would come back as a committee after you reviewed some of this information, if necessary, to talk about
When
what
is the next
you'd
meeting,
like to
by the
do.
way?
Going to be October 1st.
That's a Tuesday?
It is. First Tuesday of the month, 5 p.m. here in the library.
Complete, that's right.
Any other questions or concerns tonight?
I think it's a good plan.
Yeah.
Not seeing any comments from the public. Your comments? I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So,
So move second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Meeting
like it.
adjourned at 5:36.
I like these.
38.
Perfect.
Yeah, your budget
you, everyone.
meetings won't-
Thank you.
Your budget
Thank you.
meetings won't be that short.